Hi everyone, Paul here from FamilyWheels.ca with another car review for your growing family. And this week we're in the Toyota Tundra, a pickup truck that's kind of hard to believe, but it's been in the Toyota lineup now for nearly 20 years. It was first released back in 1999, and that first generation we still see humming along the highway perfectly happily to this day. It's a very reliable choice, and that's a big reason why people go for this as an option in the pickup truck segment. In fact, the Canadian Black Book just named the Tundra for 2017 the best truck for resale value on the market. Now there is change afoot for this truck with an update coming for 2018. That means that the 2017 Tundra really does have very few changes to it. One of which though is this new cement gray color in this TRD Pro package that we're driving around this week. I've had a chance to drive both the TRD Pro Tacoma and the TRD Pro 4Runner with this same color this year. And I gotta say, it turns a lot of heads. I think that it looks kind of cool. Let's get inside this thing, get out of this wind, and see how it stacks up to all of the other competition that's out there this week on Family Wheels. Well, there is quite the price gap to talk about when you're looking at the base version of the Tundra versus this TRD Pro package that we're driving around in. This thing costs about twice as much as the most basic version of this truck, which comes in at about $30,000 here in Canada. That gives you 4x2, it gives you a regular cab, it gives you bench seating, and it gives you an 8-foot box. Really basic truck, but it does have a rear backup camera, which unlike the Nissan Titan comes standard on all trims. And that's important, I think, for a truck of this size, because when it comes to, you know, setting up a trailer, even parking this thing, these are big hulking vehicles, and it's nice to have that on all trims. Then you start to bump your way up into higher level trims, and this is when you see 4x4, more amenities, leather seating surfaces. There's the double cab option, which is fairly tight in the back row, but I do have a friend who drove one of those around for a couple of years with 2 kids in car seats, and he did manage to make it work. But this CrewMax cab, like we have in our tester here this week, is really impressive. This gives you a lot of room, and the Tundra is focused toward, according to Toyota, they've nailed down their demographic here. They're looking at male buyers in their 40s with a family, and if you're looking for this truck as a family vehicle, this CrewMax cab is really tough to beat. Now the downside to the CrewMax is that you can only get it with a 5.5-foot box. Now certainly I get that that's going to help with the length of this vehicle, make it a little bit more manageable, but 5.5 feet is pretty challenging when it comes to throwing anything of size back there. Even throwing a pair of skis into this thing means that the skis have to go off on a diagonal. Looking at throwing a bike in the back of this, it can't lay flat. The front tire has to flip up in order to fit it. It's not a very usable size, especially for a pickup truck of this size. I have a friend who's in the trades, and when I was telling him about the Nissan Titan and how you can only get the crew cab model of that vehicle with a smaller box, he said it was a non-starter for him because he needs a longer box for his day-to-day work. So I don't quite understand why we can't get the CrewMax of this vehicle with a slightly longer box. I think it would make it a more relevant choice when you compare this to the domestic brands. Now, as I mentioned, there is quite the gulf when it comes to price tags in the Tundra. So that base model trim is about half as much as this TRD Pro trim that we're driving around in here this week. Now, this is a very off-road focused vehicle. It's meant to be the kind of truck that can go off the rack, off the showroom floor, right onto some of the most difficult desert racing courses in the world, much like the Ford Raptor that we were driving around a few months ago. But while the Tacoma TRD Pro is very much a desert racing focused vehicle and has been tuned to be such, and the 4Runner is meant to be a bit more of a rock crawling vehicle with the TRD Pro package, this Tundra is kind of somewhere in the middle. It's meant to find a middle ground. And it's giving you things like Bilstein shocks, a remote reservoir suspension kit, which is really designed to put up with the abuse of off-roading all day long with no fade at all. You're getting a different exhaust system, you're getting beefier tires, and then also in terms of, you know, its appearance, TRD Pro badging throughout the cabin. On the outside as well, it's stamped onto the box, and I like the heritage front grille up front, which is unique to the TRD Pro line of vehicles. I think it makes this truck pop. Now there are a couple of things up here in Canada in the TRD Pro trim that you're not going to get available to you in the States. We have a sunroof and we also have heated front seats, but good luck finding them because they're buried way down here in this very awkward position underneath the climate control functions. There are some strange choices when it comes to button and switchware placement in this truck. Now speaking of the climate control, I'm a little blown away that this is a $60,000 vehicle and we still have this old school style of non-automatic climate control functioning. We have to use these dials and constantly adjust them to where we want the temperature to be rather than being automatic like we see in so many of the other competitors in this price point. We also don't have heated second row seating at this price like we see in many of the competitors, and I was also surprised that we don't have a key fob that gives you, keyless entry and push button start. Another thing that we see in many of the competitors, even in the Tacoma, that we're not getting here in this much more expensive truck. One thing I really like about the interior on this truck, though, is that it has best-in-class headroom, legroom, and hip room. So if you're a big or a tall guy, you're going to have plenty of space in this thing. I drove 1,200 kilometers in this truck in the 2016 version last year, and I never had any issues with sore spots or anything. Nice truck for long-haul driving. One great surprise about the Tundra is that it corners really well. For a truck that sits so high, it's remarkably composed through the twists. But it does get pretty noisy in here. The dual exhaust on this TRD Pro package certainly isn't helping the noise factor. We hit about 68 decibels at 100 kilometers an hour. Now, some people are really going to like this throaty V8 sound, and they're just going to gobble it up. Others, it's going to drive them crazy. I've been quite enjoying driving around this V8 this week because I haven't driven a true V8 for a number of months now, and sometimes you forget just how powerful these trucks are. There's no turbo lag. There's no sort of delay in that power. It's just such a smooth delivery of it, and it feels so capable regardless of the conditions. This is the same 5.7 liter iForce V8 that's been on board the Tundra and Sequoia in the Toyota family for a number of years now. And there is one trim up here in Canada in the Tundra in which you don't get this engine. All the others have it. Even this TRD Pro trim has exactly the same power plant. It's not tuned any differently, but you do have that slightly different engine note because of the exhaust. One thing I'm really hoping is improved upon for 2018 in the Tundra is its transmission, because yes, Toyota takes its time when it's looking at new technology because they want it to be good, but there have been great leaps and bounds when it comes to transmissions and their technology in the competitors. Now Dodge has an 8-speed automatic transmission, Ford has an available 10-speed in its F-150. These have really helped with fuel economy, and that could help bring this truck down in terms of its fuel efficiency because it's certainly lagging on that front a little bit. The Tundra is also a little bit lackluster when it comes to hauling stuff around. These numbers are a surprise to me. With this CrewMax cab, you can only put 1,200 pounds in the box. The more basic 4x2 version of this vehicle with the regular cab and the 8-foot box, you can put 1,770 pounds in the box, and that's because it's a much lighter truck than what we've got here this week. Meanwhile, towing capacity is around 9,800 pounds in this CrewMax cab, and that's kind of give or take depending on the trim that you're in. You get about 10,400 pounds in the 4x2 models. Meanwhile, though, the F-150 with an EcoBoost engine on board and better overall fuel economy can tow up to 12,000 pounds and has a payload capacity of about 3,200 pounds. That payload capacity is nearly twice as much, and that's a real gulf in my mind when you look at the fact that these two trucks are competing directly with each other. Another area where this truck is lagging behind, especially when you consider the fact that Toyota has said that they expect the average buyer of this truck to have a family, is safety. It hasn't scored a top Safety Pick Plus rating from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. All vehicles, even pickup trucks, are really focusing on safety these days, yet still with the Tundra for 2017, the IIHS rated small front overlap collisions, which is a very important category because it's the most common category of collisions for us to get into and can be quite devastating. We have a marginal scoring from the IIHS with that kind of collision. We also have average roof strength when it comes to this thing if you were to flip it on top of itself, and we have poor headlight strength for nighttime driving according to the IIHS. So certainly a couple of things there that the Tundra could really look at improving upon for its 2018 update. Well, I really do maintain that if you're looking for a really comfortable second row, and I don't care if we're talking about, minivans, large 7-passenger SUVs, these larger crew cabs in pickup trucks really are tough to beat. This Crew Max cab is no different. The Super Crew cab from Ford is very similar as well. I've got so much headroom back here, and my legroom is so impressive. I've adjusted the driver's seat for someone who's 6'2". I'm 6'2", and I'm totally fine back here. Of course, this means that when it comes to kids and car seats, it's not going to be an issue either. You can fit 3 car seats right across this back row. There's one thing that the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety also rated at poor in this vehicle, and that's the latching system for car seat mounting in this truck. And actually, I haven't found it that bad this week. Many Toyota vehicles are a bit of a challenge, but here in the Tundra, the latching points, the anchor points are really easy to access, and I've taken a car seat in and out a few times and it hasn't been a problem. I've flipped around this car seat that we have to rear-facing mode, and I've still got so much legroom up front for the front passenger. It's unbelievable. 31 inches from the back of the seat cushion up to the glove box. This back seat for long road trips is supportive. It's comfortable, just like the front seats. Nice place to be. Another thing that I like about this truck, and it's something that we also saw in that 4Runner when I was testing it a few weeks ago, is that the back window can come right down. Not just a portion of the back window like we see in some of the other competitors that slides across, but instead, look at this. The entire back window comes down. You can put the sunroof back, you can put this down, get a nice crosswind, and it really does kind of feel like you're almost driving in a convertible in this truck. It's really nice for those really hot summer days. One thing I'm not so crazy about, though, is the way that this floor in this Crew Max cab isn't completely flat once you flip the seats up. You've got this kind of hump. It's not flat like we see in the Sierra from GMC, in the Ford F-150. It's a much more usable space when you've got a completely flat floor back here for hauling around tools, family dogs, whatever. I wish I could see that here in the Tundra as well. Well, if the truck that you're looking for has to be reliable, has to have great resale value, lots of interior space for the driver, and some cool exterior lines, then the Tundra certainly should be right at the top of your list when you're shopping around. But I do have some issues that I hope are addressed in this 2018 update that's coming down the line. But I'd like to know what your thoughts are on this 2017 Tundra, how you think it stacks up to the competition, and what you're hoping for the 2018 update. You can leave a comment below. Please subscribe while you're at it, and then check out familywheels.ca, where I've put together a bullet point report card for you on the pros and cons of this 2017 Tundra. The next time I see you, I believe that I'm in the Kia Sorento. That's in about 7 days from now. Hope to see you then, and have a great week.